Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Spilling the University. This is like a video podcast series where it's going to be a bit more informal. We're just going to sit and talk about life at Cambridge, life at uni, and kind of whatever we want to. So, I've got a very special guest today. Do you want to introduce yourself? Who are you?
What do you want to know?
What do you study? Which college?
My name is Ailsa. I study bionatsky at Fitzwilliam College. I'm a third year, so this is my last year at Cambridge. Yeah.
And that's all.
And that's my whole personality.
That's the whole podcast. Lovely. There's a few things I want to touch on today, but firstly, brief overview. Why did you choose Fitz? And do you like it as a college? Do you regret choosing Fitz? Do you wish you chose another one?
I chose it. I didn't really have any idea of the colleges because I didn't really visit Cambridge as a uni before applying. So I just had to go off like the college websites. Yeah, I didn't really have any information about it before. So I just I don't know, the college website vibes are good. The, Googling the student room vibes are good. And so, yeah, it was kind of a bit random. I didn't really put much thought into it. But I really like Fitz. It's a really good community. I really like the college as, like, the environment, good cafe, good library, good accommodation. It's a bit further away from the centre of town than some of the other colleges, but it's not too far. And so I quite like the commute between, the department and where I live. It's quite nice to have that separation sometimes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So are we going to say something else?
No, I was just going to say Fitz has a really good, sporty scene, which I really like. Like, the gym's really good. We have five-a-side football in the summer, which anyone can join, which I really enjoy. But
awesome.
Yeah.
I think first thing I wanted to say is that I agree because sometimes people choose older colleges and they think, it's like more of the Cambridge aesthetic. But a lot of, at least in my opinion, a lot of the newer colleges are better equipped sometimes. Like the Fitz gym, is better than the John's gym. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be saying that on camera.
It definitely is. That's an objective truth.
It is an objective truth. And another thing I was going to say is, I think a lot of people say to you, before you choose a college, make sure you go and visit Cambridge, make sure you have, looked around the college and, seen which one just makes you feel, at home. But realistically, you've got to be in a pretty privileged position to be able to do that. And
also because it was COVID, so I don't think most of the people in my year and our year didn't see the colleges. And, it's fine. Most people I know, I don't think anyone I know is, that unhappy with their college choice. I think most people, all colleges have really good things about them. They're all special in their own way. That sounds really patronising, but, genuinely. So I think everyone, falls in love with their college and, has a good community there.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think one thing, it's a bit of a difficult concept to get your head around because a lot of other universities don't have that. It's pretty unique to Oxbridge. And so I think the way I think of it is that, okay, I hope this analogy works out, but imagine at high school, I went to a boys' grammar school, and then just down the road there was the girls' grammar school, and both of us did the same national exams, we both did GCSEs and A-levels. It's kind of the same vibe at Cambridge. I don't know if you'd agree, but in the sense, you and another bionatsky in third year are going to sit the same exams, if you're doing the same modules.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more integrated in that just because we actually have classes and labs and lectures and stuff together. But I think the way I'd probably put it is everything pastoral is within your college. So, your life, where you eat, a lot of people's main friend groups are in the college, and then your academic side is all mixed up with everyone. So you do definitely make friends with other colleges, and it's not completely segregated in the same way. But
well, I mean, I forgot to even say, if you don't know me, I'm a second year at John's, and this is a Fitzwilliam student. And yeah, we'll actually get on to how we met in a second, but I completely agree. And I think that, just to kind of go back on what I was saying earlier on, the whole idea of you have to come to Cambridge and visit the colleges and just get a feel when you walk in, I feel like it's a bit of a cliche because, like you said, we couldn't do that because of COVID. We're both still happy with a college choice.
And also, people get pulled all the time. I think if you put that much pressure on it and you've come to Cambridge and made a big effort and you're feels right, I don't want to go anywhere else, then if you get pulled, then you're just going to be insanely disappointed, even though the college that you've been pulled to is probably equally as good, if not better for you in some aspect.
Yeah. Do you want to explain what pooling is quickly? If people don't know?
Okay, so basically once you've done your Cambridge application, you either get an offer or you might get rejected, or they do something called the pool. So they basically if your college that you've applied to and you've interviewed for are like, you know what, this is a really good candidate, but we either don't have space for them right now, or they just aren't really a good fit for our college, then they can be put into a big pool of students, and then all the colleges meet up, and they can kind of pick you out of the pool, so they can be like, say you applied to John's, or say you applied to Fitz, and you've done your whole application, you've done your interview, and the interview at Fitz is like, we've just not got space in this cohort this year, but then they're like, this is a really good candidate, you put you in the pool, and then John's might have a bigger, like, candidate group, and then they can choose that person and be like, this person's really good, we want them to come to our college, and they'll make you an offer.
Very good way of explaining it. I think it's standardized. There's this rumor that, it's easier to get into a newer college, or, it's harder to get into Cambridge if you apply for an older college. That's not true, because if you apply to a college that has got more applicants, it doesn't actually really change anything, because even though you'll get your offer from the college, there is a standardization process, which means there's no like life hack, there's no kind of trick or tip of getting into Cambridge easier by going for a less popular college.
Yeah.
It's not how it works.
Like, we were talking to someone the other day, and I feel like some of the colleges, like Keys, is probably quite hard, like, technically quite hard to get into, but we were talking to someone the other day that got pulled from Murray Edwards to Keys, like, I don't think, it does definitely just depend on the person, depends on the interviewers, it's not really the college as a whole, it's not this big scary, like, concept, it's like actual people choosing you.
Yeah, and also a lot of the time if you get pulled, it's not like you're not good enough, it's just you did really well, but maybe you would fit a different college. So say, I don't know, maybe if you, I don't know, I've never been in charge of pooling, but maybe if they thought like, something you'd be interested in, there's a teacher that would be better for you in another college, is that true? Or maybe if it's like,
I don't know.
Maybe if you're like, you wanted a smaller college, I don't really know how it works.
Or if you have, maybe you have a specific interest in something and that's come through in your interview, but none of the people that interviewed you are really specifically specialised in that, and then potentially a fellow at a different college, that's their, area of research, and they're like, I really want that student in my college, for example.
Exactly. So, a quick question. If I'm a second-year language student at John's and you're a third-year Bionatsky, how do we meet? How do we become friends? Why aren't all your friends from Fitzwilliam College?
Because actually what happened was I was walking down the street and Andrew just kidnapped me and then dragged me into his house.
That was it. That's how you make friends at uni, guys. No, the real story. Tell them the real tea.
The real tea is we met at cheerleading tryouts 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, we started in the same year. I intermitted. That's another story. But yeah, so we met at cheerleading. Yeah,
and then I said I was going for a coffee, and he followed me.
I was like, I don't know any good coffee shops. Like, can I come with? And she was like, yeah. And then that's how the friendship blossomed. I want to kind of talk about that because I think for both of us, extracurricular activities are a big part of our time at Cambridge.
Definitely.
And yeah, it's one thing that, like I said, has been a really important part of my experience here. It's completely shaped my experience being part of the cheerleaders, and it was something that I absolutely did not plan for in the slightest. I'll tell you my story of how I ended up being a cheerleader. It basically started off that throughout school I danced. I love dancing. I did ballet contemporary creative. I did loads of hours of dance per week. I actually was part of a dance school alongside school. So, like, that was what I was into, and I was like, I'm going to go to Cambridge, and I'm going to be like Holly Gabrielle, I'm going to be on the dance teams, I'm going to be at the competitions, and in Freshers, I went to the Freshers Fair, and I just took so many leaflets. I was like, you know what, let's look at boxing, taekwondo, and there's a cheerleading stand. I was like, yeah, why not, let's have a look at this. And it looked kind of fun. I didn't really know what it was, but I thought, okay, I'll go to the tryouts. The first Sunday, or maybe the first Saturday of term, so it's like,
you just get to Cambridge and then it's tryouts. It's really quick time.
Yeah, it was October 5th maybe of first year, and I remember I did 4 tryouts of sports on the same day. I did 2 dance tryouts, something else I can't remember, and then cheerleading. And cheerleading was the least important for me because I was like, this is something that I'm just going to try out. I probably don't know if I'm going to like it, but I'm a dancer. I'm going to be a dancer. So I did all the tryouts. They went fine. Then the next day, I get an email being like, you've been selected on the first team for the cheerleading. And I was like, chill. That means I definitely am getting accepted to the dance team. No, I didn't. So I didn't get accepted to the dance team. I was like, oh, right, I'll do cheer. And do you want to explain kind of what it is as a sport? Because I feel like people don't understand.
What, cheerleading?
Yeah, because people think it's like running around with pom-poms and being like, woo!
We don't have pom-poms.
We don't have pom-poms.
I like to explain it as group gymnastics.
Mm.
So there's tumbling, which is kind of more traditional floor gymnastics. So, you know, like flipping about.
Yeah.
And then we have stunting, which is when multiple people, you know, stunt together, put a flyer in the air and do like group, I don't know how to explain it, like group stunts, and you're like throwing people.
Hopefully catching them.
And catching them. And like putting up pyramids, things like that. So that's kind of the more, I don't know, I think that's a bit more technical, like cheer specific. It's kind of like, what's it called, the gymnastics thing? Like
artistic gymnastics, maybe?
No, it's not. I forgot what the word is. But anyway, you can put it in the YouTube
I don't know
video.
what it is, but yeah.
Like what Stay did.
Don't know. No clue. Anyway.
Hopefully she doesn't watch this.
Yeah.
And then we have jumping, like, and then what else? Dance. There's a dance section.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch Cheer on Netflix if you haven't. That's good.
I've not seen it. But the thing is, right, I think that, just to clarify the pyramid, it's like you'll be holding, like me and you, as the basis, will be holding someone like this, and there'll be someone standing on top. Yeah. So there's a lot of trust involved, and I think that's one thing that made me make friends very quickly, because you're kind of first week of uni, doing trainings for this new sport, and you're like, okay, I'm throwing this girl I just met 10 minutes ago in the air, and you just, I feel like because of that, we bonded very quickly as a group, like our first year stunt group. So
as
stunt
a
group,
team, I still think we're quite, like, friendly, close.
Definitely. And because it requires that trust, and we were doing, like, fairly intensive trainings. Was it 3 times a week?
Yeah, definitely 3 times a week in first year for the first team.
So that meant that, I don't know, for me, getting involved in extracurriculars was a great way to meet people, and I definitely recommend it. And even just, you know, I think that university is a great opportunity to try out something completely new. Like, I had no intention of doing
I had done
this.
cheer for, like, 9 years before you... Oh, no, that's a lie.
A lot of years at high school.
7 years.
7 years.
Before uni. Is that right? Yeah, something like that. Also, I just think that a lot of Cambridge students, because of the effort that it takes to do a Cambridge application and, like, UCAS points or whatever, a lot of Cambridge students have a lot of extracurriculars at school. Like, most people I know play an instrument or, like, speak another language or do a sport. And I think that's just kind of, a lot of times, the type of person that applies to Cambridge is quite multi-talented, I guess. And I feel like a lot of people kind of come here and then just drop everything else and focus on the academics. But I feel like that's true. Like, a lot of people
do.
Whereas I feel like it's quite important if you're used to having that much stuff in your life. Like, I remember I used to do, like, swimming 3 times a week, cheerleading twice a week, dance lessons, like, all sorts, piano lessons. And then you come to uni, and it's kind of important to make the effort to keep up with doing something that turns your brain off from work, because I think people can get quite overwhelmed and just study all the time and feel, like, really guilty if they're not in the library all of the time, every hour of the day. Whereas it's not sustainable, and once you get to third year, the people that did that, like, are probably, I don't know, this is a broad generalisation, but some of the people that just focus on their academics now are, like, in the position where, okay, do I start something new in my third year, in my finals, or they're just kind of, like, studying still, and they're just, like, I wouldn't ever say they've wasted their uni experience, but for me, I really appreciated the chance to do something extra.
I would go further and say they have wasted their uni experience. Ooh. And that's on period. Like,
okie dokie.
All right. I think, for me at least, I would feel that that's a waste, because
I don't even necessarily mean sports specifically. I mean, just something else other than academics is important to, you know, have something other interest in your life.
No, I definitely agree. I think at Cambridge there's so many societies, there's so much stuff you can do, and you don't necessarily have to do something, like, super intense, like cheerleading. Well, even
there's
3 times
things
a week
that are, like,
is not that
1
much.
hour a week. Like, social tennis is 1 hour a week or something, or 2 hours a week or something. And that's just, like, for example, like, not all the sports are as intense. And even cheer has a second team, which I think training, to be fair, is the same amount.
But in previous years, yeah, I think with a lot of sports, it can be like the first team and second team, and maybe you do less hours in the second team, or they might have a recreational team. And cheer, we have 3 trainings a week, but some sports, like you said, have 1. Some, maybe if you're rowing, it'll be really intense. But the kind of secret thing that no one tells you is that quite a lot of the time, the people that are getting like superstar, like incredible results actually are doing extracurricular stuff as well, because you can't be doing stuff, you can't be studying all day every day. And one thing that I struggled with when I arrived at university is not having like a specific moment in which like school ends. Like at school it's like, okay, 3:40 is the end of school, and maybe I'd study for 50 minutes after that, and then I go home. But at uni it's like, because you're so close to your faculty, and because sometimes you just have, at least for me as a humanities student, fewer contact hours a day, it means that there's no moment of like, okay, the bell's gone and it's the end of the school day.
Yeah,
so some people,
you're just immersed. It's kind of like a boarding school.
Yeah, it's like some people don't manage to get that work-life balance. And so I think that having this activity, for me, it's like, okay, Thursday, 6 p.m, like off to cheer. Like, I don't, because if I was just saying, oh, I'm going to go to the gym at 6 p.m, I might think, oh no, I need to stop, I need to finish this essay. But for cheer, sometimes you have to implement the 80-20 rule. Just think, okay, I need to get this task done. Okay, I know it's due at 8 p.m, but I've got cheer 6 to 8 p.m. I need to get it done earlier. And also, like I said, I know people that have like come first in tripos, they've ranked first in exams, or they've got really incredible results, and they're not the people that have been smashing their head against a study like guide or whatever for the whole time. They've been thinking, okay, I need to focus on this part, I can maybe miss on this part, mainly revise this.
They know how to study efficiently rather than just spending their whole life studying. No, I know a lot of people that get first, like, really impressive results, also blues athletes in various sports, do other extracurricular, and like, it's not that these, obviously they're incredibly talented people, but it's not that, oh, I couldn't do that. It's like, no, you can. You just have to learn how to study and learn how to manage your time, and also use these extracurriculars as a break and like switch your brain off and have that balance.
I definitely agree. I think having balance is completely key, and one thing I do like about Cambridge is the collegiate system, like you mentioned earlier on, includes a pastoral element. So I think it feels, I mean, I've never had properly another university experience, so can't properly compare to like, oh, a non-Russell Group university is like this. But I imagine that it feels perhaps a bit more intimate in the sense that you've got your DOS, you've got your tutor, so you've got these...
It feels very supportive.
There's people looking out for you. So it can be easier potentially to ask for help, or you have meetings, for example, at the start and end of every term with your... I can't remember if it's DOS or tutor.
Both.
Oh, both, right. So one of the meetings will be asking about how you're going academically, if there's any concerns, how are your papers going, do you want to switch modules, things like that. And another one can be more pastoral. So how are the holidays for you? How's it being back in Cambridge? And even if they're just 10-minute meetings, which they normally are, you have...
And you normally also have the option to have longer meetings if you need them.
It means that there's someone checking up on you, and that's the thing I like.
Yeah. Like, it's kind of harder to slip under the radar when someone's asking you, how is being at home? How is this going? How's this going?
And how do you find, like, taking care of yourself at uni? How was the transition from school to uni, like, completely being independent?
I think it definitely does take getting used to, and I think it's something that I've learnt how to do better and better, like, every term I've been at uni. There's definitely times that I've looked back on and been like, I was not taking myself... Wow, that was a sentence. I was not taking care of myself, and that really showed in my academics and my relationships and my, you know, all aspects of my life. I think I've learned that it's actually more efficient and almost more productive to take that space for yourself and just like, you know what, I'm going to make a real habit of getting 8 hours of sleep. I don't need to be in the library until 2 a.m. because actually I'm not going to get anything productive done, and I just need to, you know, sometimes take some time to read a book, take some time to go for a walk, and it's not the end of the world if I do half an hour less studying that day, because overall, I think a big thing for me is taking the time every day. Sometimes I'm literally like, I don't have time to clean my room, like I don't have time to tidy up my stuff, but it's like, no, your mental health will be better, you'll feel calmer, you'll be less stressed if you're living in a clean space and like your life around you is tidy. It's just better to just take the time to look after yourself and do things that you need to do, and you know, have that extra 5 minutes every day doing like a little skincare routine or something. Like, that sounds stupid, but I feel like it's not actually the act of what you're doing, it's knowing that you're taking time and prioritizing yourself. And like, I feel like sometimes you need to prove to yourself that you care about yourself and prove to yourself that you're like respecting yourself and taking time to yourself. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's like, I don't know, if you spend time cooking yourself a nice meal instead of running to the butchery, eating food for 5 minutes and running back to the library, like it's not really the food that matters. It's you're proving to yourself every time that you take 5 minutes for yourself that you're deserving of that time and you're deserving of that kind of peace. Does that make sense?
I agree to, like, every single thing. I agree. I think one thing you were saying about the idea of like staying in the library till 2 a.m. Unfortunately, I think that online these sorts of videos get a lot of attention. I think
like doing an all-nighter at Cambridge. It's like, yeah, okay, you've done an all-nighter at Cambridge. How many words have you written? And could you have done that in half the time if you just gone to sleep and woken up and done it in the morning?
Exactly. And I think sometimes the problem, I don't want to say anything about the YouTube algorithm right now, but I think perhaps videos that are a bit more shocking, maybe a bit more clickbaity, get that attention. And it's also kind of like maybe people are buying in, like kind of feeding into what people want to see. So creators would think...
Oh, people think Cambridge is.
Like 5 a.m. morning routine. Like I met someone, I'm trying not to name names, but I met someone the other day who is a content creator, and they have another friend who's a content creator. And they said that this friend of theirs was making videos of my 5 a.m. morning routine and just showing like, I wake up and I go for a run and I have a kale smoothie. And she said to me, I know this person doesn't do that. So
yeah, it's definitely... It's
like people want to see that because maybe it's like the dark academia moment they're looking for, but that's not the reality. And some people it is. I'm doing a video on that in a couple of weeks, but I used to be like a 5 a.m. morning routine sixth form student, and now I'm not. And it's okay if people are, but I think it's not very healthy to kind of feed into this.
Yeah, to portray that if it's not true.
100%.
I really like, you know what videos I do like, this is a bit of a tangent, is when people say, you know, this is my goal morning routine. It doesn't happen every day, but just by filming it and having a routine that they're aiming for, I think it's quite nice. And it like gives you, if you're looking for ideas of what to do, you're like, okay, I want to wake up earlier, but what do I do at this time before my lecture? And you can like watch these videos, and it's inspirational, and that's the reason people do it. But I think it's a lot more healthy to be like, you know what, I don't do this every day, but this is something I'd like to implement in my life. Also, that I like the idea of, I've seen it when people do high energy, medium energy, and low energy morning routines.
Oh, nice.
Which is when they know their routine, and when they wake up, say they've been out clubbing the night before, they have a routine, and they don't feel guilty for not sticking to their like hour and a half long morning routine where they make themselves a healthy breakfast and do this. It's like you kind of manage your expectations a bit better, and it doesn't have that feeling of like guilt associated if you don't do it every day, because you just have a different system in place.
That's a good thing.
But then you still feel like you're sticking to a routine and you're building that habit of having a routine.
I hadn't thought about that. I'm definitely going to think about that on my next rest day. I think one thing you were talking about earlier on about routines and kind of being realistic and making the time for yourself. One thing I really agreed with was when you said giving myself this hour to make something for dinner is showing myself that I deserve this time. It's so incredibly true. And I think that one thing that in first year I was not very good at doing is that, well, at university there's always more you can do.
Yeah.
Like there's always, like at GCSEs and A-level, especially at GCSE, you have your textbook or like your AQA textbook from the exam board, and you look at the spec and you say, okay, I've learned part 1 of topic 1, okay, learned part 2 of topic 2. And if you do it all, and if you do the past papers, you're going to get an A star in the exam, you know, if all goes well. But the thing is at university is that there's no like defined specification of what can be in the exam.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, for example, for me, for my literature papers, yeah, well, I'm going to have a question and I can answer it on these set texts, but there's not a limited amount of themes they could ask on. There's no, like, I'm trying to think of another example. For my language papers, yes, they'll say, okay, here's what we've covered in class, and here might be the basis of the exam, but there's no, like, complete, like, moment of, like, this is what you've learned everything.
Yeah.
So having that day off for me means that it's kind of like, okay, I'm not working today. Let's have a look at all the stuff I've jotted down on my notes app or jotted down in my journal in the last week of, like, stuff I need to do on this rest day. So today I'm having a rest day and I need to buy contacts and I need to wash my sheets and I need to sort out my clothes, because otherwise, any other day of the week, I might see that and think, oh no, I need to get this other academic thing done, which takes precedence. So giving myself that space of, okay, actually, this is a priority for today is
Yeah.
healthy.
Because then also on the days that you're working, you don't have that in the back of your mind because you're like, oh, when am I going to do this? I'm working, but you're kind of distracted because you know this to-do list is sitting there. Whereas if you've made a time to do it, you can kind of then focus on your work better because you know when that's scheduled in.
I agree. I very much agree. I think that's, unless you've got any last words.
Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom
don't
for
think
today.
I want to get back to my painting.
Yeah, so I dragged Elsa away from her calming rest activities. But yeah, I'm hoping you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, let us know, because it's very just kind of like older sister, older brother advice, I would say.
I'm not old.
Old. You're a year older than me. You're 30. But yeah, just let us know.
You're older than me.
Oh, academically you're older than me. Anyway,
Yeah, but you're older than me.
the point is, if you enjoyed, let us know, and maybe we'll do some more kind of sit-down talky videos, because
We can chat for hours.
we can chat for hours. And I love doing my vlogs, but obviously they're heavily edited, and sometimes I think it would be nice to just like, maybe you can listen to this when you're cleaning, get some Cambridge motivation.
I love listening to podcasts when I'm just like on a walk or something.
So that's all for
I
today.
feel like I'm on FaceTime.
FaceTime us by watching our videos. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.